You know what makes me wonder? If when those horrible things happened, there was a full moon that night. You see how the full moon is now? On a Halloween night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going out there.
Oh, I am.
Nuh-uh. It's murder central out there. The werewolves are howling, the demons are dragging people to hell, and the crazies have evolved into psychopaths. No thanks.
My people.
Good luck. Welcome, my ghoulians. Have you ever wondered what are the questions behind the questions? What is the truth behind the answers? The real juice of the stories and legends that we hear so much about. Well, we're here to find that out. Welcome.
We're the Black Dahlia twins. We're here to explore the spooky, the creepy, the morbid, anything along that nature.
We will be exploring topics such as murders, killers, creepy mysteries, creepy creatures, the dead, magic and witchcraft, and much more. Welcome to our first podcast. I'm Quinn.
I'm Shelby.
And we are going to be taking you through the dark and windy roads of Creepy Hollow. And what better day to do it on than Halloween? What do you say?
Yeah, why not?
Let the stories begin. First, we're going to start off with some, let's just say, dark history of Halloween. What do you say?
Yeah.
All right, so I have a question for you, Shelby.
Yep.
What makes this time of year so creepy? Like, what is the deep underlying reason that when it gets dark out at night, you can't seem to walk home without thinking that there's someone walking right behind you?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is usually in most cultures and most traditions way back when, it was when the veil was at its thinnest, and therefore it was a lot easier for ghosts and spirits and other things to cross over into our world.
So when we talk about the history, like the true history, like the main seed that started Halloween, of what we know it of today, how do we, where's that seed? What is that seed?
It was mainly a day to celebrate the dead, but also the day before the celebration of saints and martyrs.
Now, what culture?
Well, Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts who lived about 2,000 years ago celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on this night, the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to the earth.
That's interesting. Now, because I love Halloween as much as the next person, I'm always the skeptic, wondering, like, where are these written? They're always mostly legends.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not true? Like,
yeah, old stories just that have been passed down by word of mouth.
I think that's, now that I think about it, now that you explained that to me that way, that's almost what makes Halloween very creepy. Is it's passed down through legends. There's no actual facts to tie to it, but the legends are so strong, deep-rooted in our culture, that the unknown scares us. Isn't that true?
Mm-hmm. We're creatures of habit. We like to have a set schedule of things and have things be predictable. So we don't like, most people like me, don't like surprises all that often.
I know I don't. I like routine. It's safe. And so anything that goes out of that routine, it can be considered spooky, I guess you would say. Very low spooky, but spooky nonetheless.
The Samhain festival, obviously changing weather, causes a little bit of trouble, damages the crops. And the Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the druids, or Celtic priests, to make predictions about the future. For people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long dark winter, which kind of goes back to we like to have things be predictable. We like to know what happens.
So you're telling me, real quick, that they chose that time of year to talk to the spirits, and they would be able to tell them what to do with their crops, or how the weather is going to...
Or am I going to have a child? Because, obviously, children a lot of times died very young.
That's probably, again, adding to the legends, the stories of Halloween and talking to the spirits of the dead, the veil being lifted. When they talked to the spirits, they just found out through time, you know what? We get better predictions on this date.
And to commemorate the events, the Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices as to the Celtic deities.
That's the way to get your crops back.
During the celebration, Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes.
Kind of like that. Samhain. That is very cool. So they were more definitely spiritual based. I like the predicting the future part. That's really cool. Does that predate the, people say pagan? It's the pagan.
Samhain would be considered a pagan holiday.
Okay.
Or a celebration. Anything that was not Christian was considered pagan. But I could be wrong, so please don't attack me.
Pagans are everywhere, guys. Do not with pagans. So many legends have been formed around this time of year, a lot due to actual true stories. Here's a couple of them. We came across some stories on the internet that stirred up some disturbing thoughts and images that come to Halloween when you think of it. Murder.
Sacrificials, rituals,
and creatures that seem to come out of the night. Halloween is a time of scare, madness, and death. People running around in masks, but really showing their true form. Anything can happen. That's what happened to this one man on Halloween night, 1957. He got a ring at the door, assuming it was just more Halloween children coming to ask for more candy. He goes and answers it, and is greeted by a tall figure in a mask that then shot him to death. Come to find out, it was his wife's lover's girlfriend. Now think about that real quick. His wife's lover's girlfriend went to his house to murder the husband for her girlfriend because her girlfriend was having an affair with her.
So let me get this straight. It was the husband that got shot and his wife. The woman who shot the husband. And then she had a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess she kind of went home and was like, honey, do you love me? And she's like, I would do anything for you. Well, anything? Yeah, anything. Well, there's this girl I've been having an affair with. Her husband needs to go. Done.
It does not sound like a very healthy relationship.
I mean, if they had a threesome after they were done, maybe. I don't judge people's lifestyles. I just judge when you kill people. That's the best time. I'm sorry. I'm not rooting for killers, but I'm just saying that's the best time to kill someone. Everyone's running around with masks. You wouldn't know what hit you. You could be in a crowd and then someone would just shoot you out of nowhere or stab you in a crowd. and then just walk by and you wouldn't even know who it was. Murders! I just always think it's Scream.
I mean, with the way 2020 is going.
You know, I do want to talk about that one. So everyone's heard of this one. It's the poison candy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember growing up as a kid, my older sister, she'd say, well, we have to test your candy to make sure it's not poisoned.
And then eat it.
And then just proceed to eat half my candy. So,
good.
I mean,
die, bitch. But no, yeah, a lot of people heard of the stories, and that's why you have to go and check your candy, right? But I feel like not a lot of people know why. Like, because it only happened to 1 or 2 kids. Like, that was it. Like, and it was very secluded to one family. That's what people don't tell you. So apparently, the father was out trick-or-treating with the kids, and he decided to walk up to a house that didn't have its lights on. I mean, everyone knows the rules.
You know, you only go to a house that has their porch light on. The porch light is on, somebody's home, they probably have candy. No porch light, nobody's home. Or they don't have candy.
No candy. I always heard no candy. Why would you go to a house that has no candy? It's not like they're lying. I mean, they're usually throwing that stuff out the window. Yeah, so this gentleman, I'm gonna call him, just to be a dick, goes up to the door, starts banging on it. Guy opens the door, he's like, I don't have any candy. He's like, you're gonna give us some candy? My kid came all the way up here, you're gonna get us some candy. Guy starts to close the door on him, and his foot jams the door and keeps him from closing it. And he's like, fine, let me go get you some candy. Then he comes back with a couple of pixie sticks that were stapled shut. Now, the kids, when they got home, most of them didn't eat it right away. One child got sick and died. He ripped it open, ate it, and then told his dad it tasted funny. I mean, he didn't pay no mind. He just thought it was bad candy, like old. And so, gave him something to wash it down with. Turned out it was rat poison.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. No more than, like, I don't know how fast it works. I can't remember if it was like 20 minutes or like an hour or 2. Starts foaming at the mouth. Take him to the hospital. Dead. But just that once. So, here's a lesson for y'all. Don't be a dick on Halloween.
Just don't.
Like, you gotta get poisoned. I mean, natural selection, I guess. I just feel so bad for those kids.
Yeah, the kids had nothing to do with it.
No.
That was being a dick.
Creepiest photo I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a kid going as his shadow.
Like in black morph suits.
Black morph suits. The creepiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life is miniature little humans.
Just solid black.
Just solid black. Just running through the woods. These next two are my favorite. Neither rain nor sleet nor decomposing body. It's tragic enough to have collapsed and died alone on your own porch steps. To make things worse, the next morning, the mail deliverer, by the way, again, Halloween, assuming the body was an excellent Halloween decoration, he sidestepped the deceased on his way to delivering the corpse's mail.
Damn.
I mean, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd be like, dang, good. That's, I'm going to have to...
That's a pretty realistic looking body. Okay, that's cool. If I was that mail delivery person, though, and I later found out that that was a real body, I would feel really bad. Really bad.
What can you do? I mean, they're already dead. The only thing you're saving them is possible humiliation of being a decoration. But they're dead, so they can't feel...
more decomposition because they could have gotten into a fridge sooner.
Yeah. He could have been murdered. And then all that evidence just...
Yeah.
Literally decomposing away.
Trust me, Rigger's a bit.
Now tell me about that one lady.
Oh, funny you should ask. The other story is I've heard multiple different versions of this story, and I'm sure all of you guys have as well. But this one lady, near Halloween, decided to hang herself from her tree in her front yard. So obviously, being a couple days before Halloween, night before Halloween, everyone thought, it's a great decoration. That's really realistic. Bravo. Until a couple days later, people noticed that the body had started to bloat and change colors, and later found out that the poor woman had committed suicide.
Funny thing about that, though, is, me personally, if I were to commit suicide by hanging, I would do it around Halloween. I'd be like, yeah, at least my death meant something. At least my death made the best Halloween decoration ever. They'll be talking about me for like years to come. Obviously. You know what I mean? Fame is fame.
Fame is fame. I suppose.
We all want to be remembered after we die. I mean, shh. Good job. Because of that story, it reminded me of a story that I heard. So people are doing the hay bale ride, and it's a scary hay bale ride. So you got people that are like scaring you along the way. Now, there's this one guy's job, and he got to pretend to hang himself. So he would step on this little ledge, and he would just look like he's hanging there. And then the kids would go by, and then he would jump and make noises and stuff, like scare him.
Yeah.
Well, when the hay bale ride came around to go see him, he didn't move. The other employees noticed that his cue was well past due.
Okay.
And trying not to freak out, they let the other people just keep going by, and they went back to go check on him. Apparently, the thing he was standing on slipped, and he actually hung himself. That sent shivers down my spine. Made me think, I want to go on hay bale rides more.
Yeah.
Morbid sense of humor.
I'll join you on those hay bale rides. We'll see if there's any freak accidents.
Yeah, you gotta watch the employees' faces. Just... can only imagine. Note to self. Don't die at or around Halloween. Otherwise, you become a Halloween decoration.
Well, I'll try not to, but I can't really predict when I'm going to die.
Like I said, I would love to be a Halloween decoration.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that off.
It went 90. I went 10. See here. You know what makes me wonder? If when those horrible things happened, there was a full moon that night. You see how the full moon is now? On a Halloween night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going out there.
Oh, I am.
Nuh-uh. It's murder central out there. The werewolves are howling, the demons are dragging people to hell, and the crazies have evolved into psychopaths. No thanks.
My people.
Good luck. In an attempt to find scary stories to get the blood flowing on this Halloween night, we asked our local friends and family to tell us some local legends and some scary stories of their own.
Perfect, you can hear coyotes.
Ooh, coyotes in the background. Shelby?
So this comes from one of my friends, Becky. Thank you. She's the one who gave us the most stories because she's had the most encounters, it seems. And these are personal encounters that she has experienced herself. It's called the Old Schoolhouse. She says, my dad and mom split when I was like 12 or 13, and I moved into what used to be an old schoolhouse on Towser Road with my dad and his new wife. I had too many odd encounters at this house. I never liked being there, and it always had me feeling like I had eyes on me, like I had to constantly protect myself or something. I had to have been a freshman in high school when something happened that I couldn't explain. I had woken up in the middle of the night. I had a bunk bed in my room, but I didn't have anybody sleeping under me. My youngest sibling at the time was supposed to be there, but she had fallen asleep on the sofa in the living room. I had to use the restroom, so I got down, passed my younger sister on the couch, went to the bathroom, came back, but noticed she was gone. I thought nothing of it and noted she wasn't on the bottom bunk. Whatever, you know? Maybe she went upstairs. I should clarify that my room was tiny. If you opened the door, it missed my bed by inches, and at the foot of my bed was a closet that was gutted to become the stairs to the attic area. But it had been divided to be 3 bedrooms up there. Really unprofessional looking up there, so I get back to my bed, making sure I shut my door. I wasn't allowed to shut my door completely, but I had it shut to where the top was in the door frame, so it was stuck, but not shut entirely. I get back under my covers and close my eyes, only to be surprised by my door opening slightly. Whatever, it's an old house. Maybe the house just settled and the door swung by a touch. Then it opened wider, only to close lightly again. I thought, well, maybe it's Mackenzie, my little sister, wanting to get back into bed. But she wasn't on the couch, so thinking logically, right? What logically just happened? Then my door swings wide open, and a black figure whooshes in, shakes my bed, runs up the stairs. What in the fresh hell just happened? I thrash out of my bed to catch the culprit if I can. I look up the dark stairs about 1.5 feet wide, no light, whispering as loud as I could, "Mackenzie? Is that you?" Only to get no response, and I quickly wisp the event from my mind. I close my door again, turn my radio on for some background noise to get to sleep. I wake up in the morning and ask Mackenzie if she had woken up in the middle of the night. She said no. My dad's room was on the other side of that closet, makeshift stairway at the foot of my bed. So I asked my dad if he had heard any loud footsteps last night going up the stairs. He slowly said, "No." "Why?" I said, "Someone opened my door last night, shook my bed, and ran up the stairs." He said, "What makes you think something like that happened?" I looked away. At this point, my dad had become the least of my favorite people at this time in my life. Because it happened. He said Mackenzie had slept with them last night, and then he needed to stop making shit up. That night, my little sister, Elle, had said she had a nightmare about a woman in an old, ruffled dress, just staring at her while she slept. I don't know what happened that night, but I know that I had been completely awake, and I had the worst feeling in my gut.
Spooky. This bomb foam that I have going on right now. My cauldron's bubbling. ASMR.
That's uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're telling me foam is not great to drink.
No, then why are you drinking it? Come on. We've been...
For the effect.
So this one's called Sleep Weeping. She says, I can't remember when it happened exactly, and it was just a weird, short time experience. I can't remember what I'd been dreaming about, but I could hear crying. The saddest sobbing I had ever heard in my years. And that was just it. I could only hear sobbing, like somebody had just lost their dearest loved one. Then I had woken up. I was so extremely confused because I could still hear it. A minute or two passed and I realized the sobbing was coming from me. I wasn't sad. I didn't even dream of anything in particular. I had been crying so loud and so long my pillow had pools of tears. I remember thinking, what the f***? That's weird. Wiped my face and flipped my pillow and tried to get back to sleep, but I just didn't understand what had happened. In the morning, my sister, Elle, said she had another dream of the woman in a ruffled dress, and she was in the corner of the room weeping. Take what you want from that, but it was a one-time weird encounter that never happened again.
Not the ruffled skirt lady.
Yeah.
The same ruffled dress lady?
Yeah, she said that her sister had dreamed of that same woman, but she was in the corner crying, like weeping.
Wow.
Third story
From Becky.
Becky,
we love you.
yes, thank you, Becky. This one's called Shadows. It wasn't often, but it had happened a few times while living in that schoolhouse. Black figures were something that seemed only to follow me around while living there. I did my best not to give it attention. I had been sleeping on the bottom bunk when I had woken up. My blanket was tight, like it had been weighed down on all the edges. I couldn't move, and my first instinct that it was just sleep paralysis. So I shut my eyes and just tried to forget about it. I was becoming used to getting these stupid encounters and hoped they would just go away. Being a teenager, my imagination was a bit wild, but I was never taken seriously whenever I brought these things up to my parents. Whatever. The usual, I guess. I fell asleep at some point, only to wake up with a dark figure at the foot of my bed. I told myself it's fine, can't hurt you. It was just looking for fear to feed off of. I don't know where I gathered that from, but I knew it would only be worse if I felt scared every time this happened. I heard somebody coming from downstairs, so I knew I only get up and get out of that room. I went to the restroom and went back to bed. I don't remember it happening again that night. But seeing a dark figure in that house at night, specifically being woken up and seeing a dark figure, was probably a monthly thing I had to endure while living in that house. So I would say, Becky, that you probably encountered the Shadow Man. He's a very popular figure, and you're right to assume that he feeds off of fear. I have actually had him before. Mine's always wearing a wide brim hat. I'm not sure if he's the same for everybody. I've also at one point had 2 figures at the foot of my bed before. Several times. Never really felt threatened by them. Just felt like they were more watching me, guarding me. I never really felt scared. I just felt, well, just get back to sleep, I'll be fine. They're just watching.
See, a lot of the times, in any sort of case where they seem a little like demonic or evil, most of the time we have the power. We're stronger than they are, and as long as you have the strength to say that you're not scared and that you do have power over it, which you do, you will win every time.
Yep. This one's called Dancing Lights. Recently, I had asked a local Facebook group if there were any mirrors people were looking to get rid of. I had picked up 3 mirrors in the course of about 3 days. One in particular was older, or at least abused. It had so many layers of paint that I spent probably a collective of 5 hours scraping off and sanding down the frame. I cleaned it all up, wiped down the other mirrors, and decorated. I placed 2 of the 3 in my room. The home I am in currently hadn't been giving me any freaky vibes or off feelings of being watched until I got these mirrors, or at least that I noticed. I started noticing that after I had hung up the mirror I cleaned, I felt uneasy. I brushed it off, started sleeping with the bathroom light on and my bedroom door open. A few days later, I had patted and noticed I would see things out of the corner of my eyes, but I would brush it off. I've dealt with this shit before, so whatever, right? I had woken up one night at 1 a.m. to pick up my fiance from work. We get home and everything is going well. We leave the door cracked so our son, Pasta Kitty, can come in when he gets lonely. He likes to snuggle with us. The fiance and I were snuggling, getting comfortable, and I heard a thump. I thought it was the upstairs neighbor. I ignore it. I look at the door and see what looked like a blue flashlight. It whipped back and forth against the wall right outside the door, and then immediately after I heard a crash come from the kitchen, and I froze. Fiance was falling asleep, and I whisper with urgency, "Dear, somebody's in the apartment. I saw a light." He said he heard the noise and got up. He grabbed something just in case we had an intruder, and a flashlight, turning on lights as he walked through and found nothing. I followed him out to the kitchen, and the onions we have hanging were everywhere. My onions! I checked the spot where they had hung, and it was secure. I checked the onion bag. No rips. It had just fell for no reason. Long night short, we ended up going back to bed and not talking about it. We both had no reasonable explanation. The next morning, I salted my mirrors and prayed over them, and things seemed to feel normal for a few weeks until my cat started staring off into space, particularly above me or beside me. I spent a lot of time at home alone with him, and he doesn't just stare off into space like that. I try not to think anything of it, and I notice he does it more often now. A week or two goes by and I had company over. I sent the kids to bed and turned off lights except for the bathroom. I have a tendency to keep it on now. We heard a noise thinking it was just the kids, and I had my back to the hallway. My friend was looking past me and she went quiet. Looking past me, I was like, yeah, weird shit has been happening since I got the mirrors, and I said something about a light, and she said, like the blue light I just saw? I said, what? And I'm thinking, hey, she's joking. We couldn't come to a conclusion, and that's where I sit with this apartment. I'm debating on getting rid of the mirrors, at least the one I had refurbished. Activity has been at a standstill, but I have noticed that pasta still stares off into space.
You did refurbish it. Kind of seems to, like, make ghosts mad.
Well,
so I've heard.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're not supposed to salt mirrors, are you?
I've never heard of such thing, to be honest.
And I'm actually going to try to pick up the mirror from her to see if it is actually this mirror. And if it is, I am buying it from her because I want to see actually what this activity is.
I'm sorry.
Because I am a messed up, sadistic person.
Did you say that she, like, freaked out when, like, the onions fell?
Yeah, she was just like, what the hell, my onions? Like, they were in a bag. The bag had no rips.
Onions are around.
Yeah.
I know they're in a bag, but I've had bags of onions just fall out of nowhere.
And that's what happened. They just fell out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
The onions went everywhere, but there was no hole in the bag for the onions to escape.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so there was onions everywhere.
Yeah.
And the bag was still sealed?
Mm-hmm. Or there was no hole, like, could have been like one of those little mesh bags.
It teleported! You know, actually, it's funny. Because, like, I always wondered, like, when people say that, like, stuff in their house disappears and then it reappears some other places, right? Like, some people think, like, you know, like the old Scooby-Doo, like, ghost, and, like, it's, like, levitating in the middle, you know? Just,
yeah.
And, like, and it goes to that place, and you just never see it levitate. But, like, the thing is, I saw this one, like, paranormal video. Something literally vanished out of view of camera. Just, like, it was kind of in the dark, but it sparked an idea. Because you never actually, and I've witnessed things moving from one place to another, and I know it wasn't no human being moving it either. So, like, to get from there to there without anybody noticing, you would have to, like, you know, because ghosts, they're kind of on a different plane, right? Mm-hmm. They can literally grab something that's in our material world, put it into their world, wherever that is, and then just put it back in our world. So were those her stories?
Yep, those were all of Becky's stories.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you. I do have one more. This one came from a fellow coworker. This is a story she just made up on a whim.
I like made-up stories.
This one, I will admit, is a little creepy. Especially the ending. It's very surprising. So the story goes, nobody asked about the house on First Street anymore. The windows and the old hardwood flooring creaked and groaned every time the 12 a.m. train would pass. It was audible from the streets. The town could hear that old house shaking. Every midnight, I would be awoken by those horrible moaning sounds. What sounded like shrieks would pierce my ears every night as I drifted off to sleep. And everybody else seemed fine. Nobody would bring up even or mention this house in the town hall meetings, despite it being such a nuisance for the town residents. I was worn thin, however. I was tired of waking out of my slumber every night. I made a plan. That night, I would sneak out just after that train passed by and burn that wretched house to the ground. There were no residents after all, no victims, no crime. 11:30 a.m., my heart was racing. I was so ready to commit my crime. By the time I was finished decorating myself in all black attire, the shrieks pierced the night like a pack of wolves. If those wolves were sickly and meek. It was time. I ran through the back roads, my legs being scraped and brushed up against the unmaintained thicket on the side of the road. First Street. I made it. I look up at the old house. The rancid smell hit me like a sack of potatoes. I gagged and pulled out my trusty Bic lighter and lit up the underbrush. The house instantly took to flames, crackling and searing as it lit up the night. Very suddenly afterwards, those shrieks and moans could be heard again, as if figures tried clawing their way past the flames. Souls of the damned, it appeared, their flesh dangling from their burning faces. I quickly ran without a trace across the street to watch the horror as it took place. The souls whined and screamed as they melted to the ground. All 7 of them perished in front of me. I remember screaming, "In God's name, you will fall! In God's name, die, demons!" I watched the flames swallow them whole as their screams shook the neighborhood. But I'm just thankful to God that horrible sound is gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Yeah, your mind's gone. My nurse walked over to my bed and shoved the Irazopol down my throat. Better? She scowled down at me and walked away from the room. I could faintly hear her talking from outside my room. "She needs the penalty," the nurse begged the doctor. "Nobody like this should be allowed to live." The doctor tried calming her down, but he couldn't. After all, it was her parents and grandparents I burned alive that night.
Can I marry this girl? Like, just the sheer creativity of this story. Like, you're sitting there going, no, this ain't real unless she's tripping.
That's all of a sudden, oh yeah, your mind's gone for sure.
Reminds me of Alice Madness Returns, the video game. Cuckoo. I have heard from a couple of local people, and they won't stop mentioning it, which is kind of crazy. It's called Branson's Hollow. Branson Hollow, from what I keep hearing, you know, have you heard of the steps in Chehalis?
Which steps?
They're just called the steps. So.
Steps. Chehalis.
It really wasn't that spooky. The end. So I had a couple of friends mention Branson's Hollow. Now, unlike the steps, which I thought were also supposed to be locally haunted around us, they weren't that scary. Definitely wasn't. A lot of constructions happened since then. I'm sure the ghosts have already gotten mad and moved by now. But Branson's Hollow in Winlock is basically this very remote town. And a lot of it is woods, it seems like. So where this is located is there is an old cemetery about, God, I can't even say how old it is, but it's old. And there was a house that was built near or around. All right, so looking up on the intranet, Branson's Hollow and the Snow House. So this house was said to be built, like I said, on or next to the cemetery. Let's see what it says. It says Margaret and Joseph Snow left their home in Tennessee and moved to Washington in 1888. So a long time ago. What today is the town of Winlock. They established their home, included the Snow family's graveyard. Many visitors today claim that the graveyard is haunted. Visitors have reported hearing unexplained noises and human voices, with no clear source. Furthermore, reports of apparitions abound, as many have claimed seeing spirits not just at the cemetery, but also on the surrounding grounds as well. The area was deemed to be haunted by the Lower Columbia Paranormal Investigation Team. On the unexplained noises and the human voices, so like I've heard a lot of my friends say that about the unexplained noises, and not just that, like, I don't know, whenever I hear ghost stories from around here, I've never heard of any of our friends being like, I will never go back. And these are people that are like skeptics. Like, they go there to like bring their girlfriend to scare them so that they'll, you know.
Oh, here, I'll protect you. White knights.
Exactly. But then they'll leave. I don't want to say it. Wait, you can. It's not a curse word. Pissing their pants. They have it in Pets too, by the way. Pissed. Pickles is pissed, okay? I can say it.
Pickles is pissed.
I can say it. I'm screaming. Pickles is pissed. All right. So yeah, men will leave with their pants pissed because this place is so apparently spooky. The unexplained noises is what concerns me. From what I hear from the stories about rustling through the bushes and the pitter-patter of not exactly sounding like feet, and then weird noises that sound human-like but makes you question. That sounds a little more than ghostly to me. And it's interesting to me too because it said that it's a family graveyard. Why would the family be haunting it? Why would it be creepy? Why would it be creepy? Like, you would think family, loved ones, it'd be a good time. Good jolly old time.
Jolly old time.
But no. Ooh. So, me and Shelby really want to investigate there. Definitely. So, like and subscribe if you want to watch a video of that, because I will be posting that on here on YouTube. On the YouTube. Don't listen to me if you're on our podcast listening in on this. But please go to YouTube and like and subscribe if you'd like to see and learn more, and just watch me and Shelby
be weird
and
awkward,
make faces at the camera.
Because that's what we do. we're a strange bunch. But a quick question, quiz time.
Quiz time.
Do you know the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard?
That is a good question. No, I do not know the answer.
A cemetery is usually attached to a church, usually on church property or next to a church.
Oh.
Graveyard is one that is not connected to a church. So it would be like if it was on your property, that would be a graveyard. Cemetery is what you see near churches. Fun little fact for y'all.
I love that. And please stay tuned for more. We have a Morbid Minute with Shelby. And we do have Corpse Talk Tuesdays with Shelby. And she could tell you a lot of interesting things about the dead, decaying bodies, the afterlife. I would like to say that Shelby, my friend here, is very much, if you believe in that stuff, very much connected to the dead. On top of that note, would you like to tell them, just before we go, about the experience we had in the woods?
Oh, yeah. Neat little story. So we were out in the woods.
Partaking
in a little Ouija board action, you know.
Yeah, that, too.
You know. Why not? You know, I'm a pretty skeptical person when it comes to a Ouija board. I know a lot of people are probably going like, oh no, not a Ouija board!
If you do it right.
You do it right, nothing should follow you. But we're out there, doing our thing, middle of the night, on my parents' property out in the woods. You know, my parents have a pretty good chunk of land that have a lot of trees, and it's near a river. We're messing with the Ouija board, asking questions, and all of a sudden it seems to get
Did you move that?
No. Unbelievably dark. And, it just gets very, very dark. You know, usually you have the lights from the stars, you know, street lights in the distance, you know, you hear cars going by. It seemed like somebody just put a black dome over us. It got very quiet, very dark.
You know that vignette feature on Instagram where it makes everything black around your photo? That's what happened to us.
And as we're messing with it, it seems to all of a sudden start getting lighter again. We start hearing noises. If you've never been camping, you actually don't realize that you still hear birds chirping and bird songs all night long.
The crackling of just twigs in the background.
Yeah, normally that's
leaves blowing.
Normally that's what you hear. Well, in this instance, it got silent. We didn't even hear the river in the distance. Like, that was literally right next to us. And after a while, you know, we say goodbye, we put everything back, and, you know, put out some, you know, good intentions, and we go to bed. The whole night, you literally hear around just 2 feet. Not like a deer was walking around us. It was like some little small creature going
2 feet with, like, it sounded like hooves.
Hooves.
You know, like, I don't know, just like deer pitter patters, but with only two.
And
right by our tent.
Yep, just constantly circling and hearing just weird footsteps. Honestly, it could have been our imagination. I am a skeptic still, even though I do have certain abilities. A lot of you guys are probably still thinking I am full of... It was still a little unnerving. It's like, yeah, you know, it could have been a deer. It could have been a coyote. It could have been anything. But I just got a weird feeling. And just ever since that night, it's just been kind of weird.
I'd like to say on top of that, the whole skepticism thing is that I'm a big skeptic myself. Like, I love the paranormal. But, so I'm like the first to like jump and be like, oh my god, it was a ghost! But then quickly jump to, okay, really, what was that? How can I explain this? And literally 99% of the time, no, 99.99% of the time, I can always dismiss it. Every time. There are very rare occasions, and so us as human beings, we have what is it called, where the hair stands up on the back of our neck?
It's like a fight or flight response.
Instincts,
we just have that instinct of just
and so
something's nearby.
There's a big difference between something scared me and there's something right behind me. When those senses go off, you can't tell me that 99% of the time there ain't no one behind you. There usually is. So I got that feeling in that tent when that went by. Like I said, I am quick to be like, oh, scared, and then I'd be unzipping that tent faster than you can say, where are you going? To try and figure out what that noise was. Did you see me move? Oh no. I clinched tighter. I was like, no.
Nope.
Protect me. Which, are you done with your story?
Yeah.
I have a story as well. If ghost people want to know, I will tell them it's a ghost. Otherwise, it could have been my imagination for all I know. But I enjoy the mystery. It was great. If you've ever seen Ghost Adventures, it's called The Enchanted Forest. You need to go sometime. I'm going to take you. It's amazing. It's creepy as hell.
It's a date.
It's a date. Nick, I'm going to show you some creepy photos. But anyways, so I went there, and me and my friend were supposed to be going ghost hunting, right? We went there during business hours, so everything was like cheerful and everyone's like having a good old time. They're like bringing their kids there, and please don't bring your kids there. I rode the log ride, like the water log ride. Girl, that thing is holding on by like a couple of bolts.
Reminds me of the Coney Island roller coaster. So.
Oh, it's scary. My first, say, paranormal experience, it could have been the trick of the light or something like that. It was just weird. There's this housing area where basically it's a courtyard where you could eat, but it has like houses, like the village around it. But the thing is, you can't actually get in the village. They're boarded up. It's like not a thing. Like it's just decoration, basically. When I turned, like there's nobody over in this food court area. Like maybe one or two people, but they're off in the distance. And I look over into like the window of one of these little houses, right? It's one of those like little houses where the window goes out. Mm-hmm. So you could almost like sit on the windowsill, like that kind. Mm-hmm. Now, I could have sworn I looked over and I saw a little girl in a kind of old-timey dress. It was just like normal like skinny up top, and it was like floofy down at the bottom, and like, you know, the kind of girls where they wear bows in their hair, like that kind of style, right? I saw this little girl in the windowsill, and it was just glanced by, and it was enough for me to be like, wait a minute. And I looked right back, and I didn't see anybody there. The weirdest thing was, when I looked even harder, and I had to stop my friend in the middle of a conversation, I was like, wait. What? Hold on. She's like, what? I was like, I need to see something real quick. I thought I saw like a little girl, but then she's gone, and now I'm noticing something. She's like, what? That window's boarded up. Like, where it caves in and stuff like that, they boarded it up right there.
So there would be no way of anybody even standing in the window?
No.
Creepy.
Like, at all. And I was like, I could have... Why would I make that up? Like, I know I'm going there for ghost stuff, but like I said, I'm a skeptic, so I'm not looking for ghosts. Like, I'm looking for literally an actual physical child in front of me. That's the kind of, like, ghost hunting I'm going on. And I see this, and I'm like, okay, what? And then why in an old-timey dress? Like, that was weird, too. Like, I had details in her. It wasn't like, oh, I saw a silhouette of what I thought was a child. I had details in my description, so I couldn't, like, wish it away. But again, I did, because I'm still a skeptic, so I'm like, I don't really have camera proof, so I'm gonna walk away from this. Now, me and my friend later that night, we went to, because the park just wasn't enough for us, so we went to a local, down in Salem, Oregon, an Assanis Island that just got through being demolished. We went to the Assanis Island. Most of the buildings were burned down and starting to be redemolished, or whatever what they were doing. Rebuilt. And the only thing that was left was like this kind of like, I can't really say like barn house. It was kind of shaped like a barn house, but it was very much like, that's probably where the maintenance workers were and all that other stuff. And then there was 2 silos. And me and my friend, we were walking down the sidewalk next to these burnt down buildings that they just got through demolishing. And we heard, like, as we were walking, there's tall bushel grass right next to us, right? And I heard, like, something walking right next to us in the grass. And every time I'd look over, I'm expecting to, like, see a dog or something.
Or a cat or something.
Or a cat, like, a 4-legged animal of sorts, like, that's really low to the ground. And there's nothing there. And then, like, I would turn and I would still hear, and then it would stop as soon as I'd look. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So we keep walking. And this is actually the spooky part. Me and my friend took a bunch of photos while we were at the Enchanted Forest. Took a bunch of them. And I took my phone with me to go investigate the Assanis Island, and we ended up going to this silo. One of them, it was open, so me and my friend looked inside, and we didn't notice anything different. We were like, oh, this looks really creepy. Maybe we should do an EVP session in here. And we looked down at the ground, and everything looked normal. I took what felt like a step forward inside of the silo, and I shined my light down, I shined my light up. I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. I was like, I'll step in first, and then you can come after. So I went to go take my second step in, and I felt like I stepped down on something for a minute. And keep in mind, my left foot is already inside of the silo. When I put my full weight in towards it, I then fell down. right? I fell.
Was there like a step that you didn't see or something?
So when I fell, all I felt was this black mass that came over me, and something enveloped me. What I didn't realize, what was enveloping me, it was water. I fell into water. What I was envisioning on the ground was the light from my camera was hitting off of it. It was algae on top of the water. And it made it look like there was a ground. I went, bloop, right in. Took my phone with it. All the ghosts were like, nope, you can't have that. And what was creepy about that too, with that, like I said, it could have been where my mindset was at the time, but when I fell, it's very interesting. You don't know it's water. This is what I mean right now. When you don't know it's water, it feels like some black morphy goop is just enveloping you. And when that happened, I swear to God, I saw a ghostly figure, almost zombie-like, go wow, right into my face. Like it wanted to eat me. I couldn't have gotten out of there so fast. My hair didn't even get wet because that's how fast I was like, nope. I yeeted myself off that water. I swam out of there so fast, I couldn't touch the bottom. There was no bottom. So me and my friend, she pulled me out. We ended up going back to the hotel. I ended up grabbing my other camera so that we can go back and get some like paranormal stuff, right? I ended up grabbing the camera from the hotel, and I remember this. I grabbed it and I put it in the car. I remember because I had to go back for the camera to make sure I had it. So I grabbed the camera, I put it in the car, and then when we made it to the site, it was gone. The camera had vanished from my car. We only went from the hotel to the site. And it's in the car that I have now. Like, I've never been able to find it. It's disappeared. It was gone. The funny thing is, that camera had so much evidence on it from the ghostly experience. Now, again, I'm tying it all to just paranormal experience. But here's another thing. So when my friend got home, okay, so my phone's gone. That evidence is gone. My camera literally disappeared. That evidence is gone. My friend's camera is the only evidence left of what we had at the Enchanted Forest. Now, when we went to go check that evidence, so we went in her gallery. You know how it shows all your photos in your gallery, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it shows the pictures. But when you click on it to maximize it,
it's just a blank screen.
It's a blank screen. It won't let you look at it. And then, on top of this, the video that we made on her phone there, it sped it up. She says that you have to go in the settings, deep in the settings, to make it do that. And for some reason, the video is now permanently sped up and we can't unspeed it. I think there was something very important on that camera, and something did not want us to see it. Please, if you have any scary stories, any paranormal mysteries, anything in general that has to be...
Any ideas that may be an idea for another podcast that we could do, or a certain subject.
Mm-hmm. We're all about the creepy, the paranormal, and mysterious in any way. So please leave comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You have a great day. Thank you so much. I'm going to end on that.